Hi, my name's Mr. Bag, and in this video we'll be exploring the wonderful world of loops. Pause this video and write loop quiz in your books. There are three different types of loop in block-based programming: the forever or infinite loop, the count-controlled loop, and a loop that is ended by a condition. Let's start by looking at the infinite loop. This is a loop that goes on for at least a very long time. The day and night cycle is a really good example that repeats over and over again: night and then day, night and then day. Our heartbeats are another example of an infinite loop, something that's going to repeat loads and loads of times. It's not really infinite, but it certainly feels like it is to us. One of the features of an infinite loop is that it starts at the top, works its way down, and then goes back round the loop and then does the same thing over and over again. So in this case, we're breathing in, we're breathing out, we go round the loop, and we repeat that over and over again. In a programming language like Scratch, an infinite loop is called a forever loop. One feature of an infinite forever loop is that you can have code above it, but you can't have code underneath it. Now let's look at a count-controlled loop. These repeat a set number of times. Repeated dance moves are always count-controlled loops because you never see anybody dancing forever. In our dance algorithm, the count-controlled loop is in red lettering and it's inside a green rectangle. Just like in our forever loop, we can have instructions before the count-controlled loop, but unlike our forever loop, we can also have instructions after our loop. Let's have a look at the flow of control, which is the order in which this algorithm is carried out. First of all, the person stands up. Then they enter that red count-controlled loop and they do left hand point up, right hand point up, and they repeat that 8 times. When they've repeated that for the 8th time, they're going to leave that red count-controlled loop, take a bow, and then sit down. Let's now look at what a count-controlled loop looks like in a block-based programming like Scratch. And here we can see it's called a repeat loop, and it's got a number to show how many times it repeats. Now let's look at condition-controlled loops. So a condition is any statement that you can only answer true or false. Are you 12? Are you hungry? If you support saints? If you have green eyes? And you can only actually say yes or no, or true or false. Here is a very common condition-controlled loop. Loop until you arrive at your destination. Say, are we there yet? You might even take part in this one. Let's look at the flow of control for this. We're going to start where it says start at the top there. And the first thing we do is we check to see if we've arrived at our destination. And let's imagine we haven't. So of course we go down the no, false path. And the first thing we do is say, are we there yet? And then of course go back around that dashed loop back to the start. And then we check to see again, have we arrived at our destination? No, we haven't. So we do say the same thing again. Are we there yet? And we go down the dashed path. Let's imagine though, the next time we get there, we've just driven around the road and we're now sitting outside our destination. So we check, have we arrived at our destination? Yes, we have. So we go down the grey, yes, true pathway, and we've left the loop. Let's have a look how this would look in a block-based programming language like Scratch. So let's start at start just like we did before. And the first thing we do is we go down and check the condition. Now in this case, the condition is touching the color green. So we'd ask the question, have we touched the color green? And if we say no, then we would change the color effect by 1 and go back round that dash loop and come back round again. Let's do it again. Have we touched the color green? No, we haven't. So we've gone and changed the color effect and gone round that dashed arrow back to the condition. Have we touched the color green? In this case, yes, we have at this point. So the condition is now fulfilled, it's now true, and so we go down that grey path and we clear all the graphic effects. Computer scientists recognize two different types of loops. We have definite loops and indefinite loops. Definite means we know how long they will take and when they will end. Indefinite means we don't know how long they will take and we don't know when they will end. Which of these are definite and which of these are indefinite? You might want to pause the video once this is finished and just have a think about it yourself before moving on. Did you get the right answer? Finally, we get to the quick quiz at the end. I'll read these quiz questions to you if you want to listen to them, or if you want to read them yourself, just pause the video now. Number 1, in a condition-controlled loop, is it possible to have true, false, and sometimes? Number 2, can you have a code after a count-controlled loop? Number 3, a forever loop is what type of loop? A, count-controlled, B, condition-controlled, C, infinite. 4, if you wanted to use a loop to draw a 5-sided shape, which loop would you choose? 5, if you wanted to use a loop to play a sound continually through a program, which loop would you choose? Pause the video now and answer those questions in your book.